Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Transitions Collective. I'm your host, Mary Clavier. This week, I'm speaking with Lindsay Gordon from A Life of Options. Lindsay is a career and change coach and helps people through different career changes that they might be facing, whether they're burnt out or unhappy with what they're doing, and how they can move forward. She is a former employee of Google that now runs her coaching business full time. So stay tuned as we dig into what it's like to transition from corporate to a coaching business and what you can also look out for and have some tips around coaching for yourself and how to figure out your next move. I hope you enjoy. Hi, Lindsay. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So excited to have you here today to talk all about coaching and your expertise.
Yes.
So before we dive right into your business, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your family?
Sure. So I live in San Francisco with my husband, and we have been here for about 10 years now, which is crazy.
Oh, yeah.
I've kind of lived all over the place. I've lived in New York and Boston and Texas and Belgium. And my family's
Oh,
actually
that's
in
cool.
Australia. So lived a lot of.
Wow. And I lived in Belgium too. We'll have to talk about that later.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I did a year study abroad there in high school.
Awesome.
And then my background is in engineering. So I worked in engineering for a little bit. I then worked in technical support for many years. And now I'm running my own business doing career coaching. And on the side, in my free time, I love to grow vegetables in my tiny vegetable patch in my backyard. And I sing in a women's barbershop quartet.
That's pretty fantastic too. I didn't know that either. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. I know what you mean, the little patch of yard. My sister lived in San Francisco for quite a few years and it's a great place, but yes, I'm in Hoboken, New Jersey, so it's also, tiny spaces.
You understand.
Yeah.
You treasure the little space that
Yes, yes.
you
This is mine.
yeah.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so I'm sure all the traveling too has had such a big impact on what you've done and your experiences. So, can you tell us a little bit about how you got into coaching from the corporate world?
Yeah. The easiest way to explain it is that I fell into it, like any good career transition. I was
Yeah.
doing technical support at Google, and I was working with a lot of our new hires, and they would come into the company and be so stressed about their career and not know how to have conversations with their manager and not know how to think about career development. So I really enjoyed talking to people about their career and trying to relieve some of that pressure. And a lot of people said to me, you would be a great coach. You should be a coach. And I really had no idea what that meant. And so I was like, all right, I should probably go test out this thing that people are saying to me. So I took one class, absolutely loved it, and ended up doing the full year and a half certification.
It was a career coaching class, like the start of like how to be a coach or what coaching is about, something like
Yeah,
that.
it was kind of coaching fundamentals. So
Okay.
I did take one elective that had to do with career coaching, but mostly it was just coaching fundamentals in general.
Okay. Oh, that's awesome. Okay. So then, yeah, taking a class and even getting the certification, that doesn't translate right away to then running your own business,
Right.
right? So,
I had no plans to run my own business. This was never in the cards. This was not something that crossed my mind. I was actually hoping to move from my technical support role into a more career and people focused role. So that was my purpose in getting this certification, getting these.
mhm.
But towards the end of my program, people started coming to me and saying, are you taking clients yet? I have people to refer to you. And I was like, whoa, everybody, what are you talking about? Like, this is not the plan. But luckily I said yes to these people.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
yeah, like, all right. I almost, tried to convince them that this is not right. Like, I'm not even done with my training. This is not the plan. But I said yes and kind of had this, what I like to call my accidental side business for about a year. And then after that year, I was like, you know what? I think it's time to try this full time. I didn't really know if I was going to like it. And here we are over 2.5 years later.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So many questions about that process. So when you were taking the course, you were, of course, still working. Was it something that your company supported you to take, or it was like you did it completely outside of that?
Yeah. Google does have a fantastic kind of stipend that you can spend on
I thought they did.
So
Yeah.
they did support me in that way. Other than that, I don't know that I talked about it a lot. It was just something that I was doing for me at that time. So it wasn't directly connected to the job that I had.
Hmm. And the people that were coming to you, was it other people that were in the program, or like your friends that knew you were in the program, or
Yeah.
where were those people coming from?
I was so excited about what I was learning, and people, friends outside of work would ask, oh, that sounds kind of cool. Can I do some of the exercises? And so actually one of my first clients was one of my husband's oldest friends. He was visiting us from um, Texas, and he was like, oh, what are you up to? And I'm like, I'm doing this cool coaching thing. We do these cool exercises. And he was like, oh, can I do an exercise? And so I was like, sure, yeah, I love this. I want to work with anybody. And then a couple weeks later, he was like, that was really impactful. Is there a chance that I could work with you? And so the first couple of people that I worked with was, the spouse of somebody that I went to college with. I worked with a neighbor in my apartment building. And I just found that because I was so excited about it and was, sharing what I was up to, people were so interested. And so that's kind of how I started getting those first clients and that initial interest.
Yeah, that's amazing. I know what you mean. Like when you're super excited and you talk about it, then it kind of takes over, and then people do want to know. And I feel like people are always so curious about other people that are like willing to leave a job or willing to try something different because they're really getting outside of their safety net,
Yep.
if you will.
Yeah.
And they think like, whoa, okay. So for those first clients, if you don't mind me asking, were they paid, or did you do some work for free first, or how did you go about doing that?
Yeah, I think I did a little bit of free kind of guinea pig coaching during my certificate.
Mm-hmm.
But then when people approached me about really working together, and it wasn't, me saying to my colleagues, who wants to be coached?
Yeah.
I did kind of switch to paid clients at that
Yeah.
point. And it was a much reduced rate. So I said, I'm not even done with my certificate yet. How does it feel at this level? Does that make sense? And then once I complete my certificate, then I'll bump up my prices little by little. So
Mm-hmm.
I tried to do mostly paid work because I think there is a time and a place for free work. And for paid work, even if it's reduced rate, I feel like the person that you're working with does have some skin in the game. It does help them commit and feel
Yes.
supported. So I'm a big proponent of mostly paid work, even when you're just getting started.
Yes. Yes, I agree. And I like for people to hear that, because I think it is very important, because I think sometimes people can have so much self-doubt that they're like, oh, well, I'll just, try this and try that, and always doing for free because they maybe don't believe in themselves enough.
Yeah. Yep.
So I love that you say that, because yeah, I think it's important. And if you're really going to have it as a business, like,
That's right.
you
Better
need
get
to make
used to
money.
the
Yeah.
It might never feel comfortable, but
Right. Right. Exactly. Okay. So how did you go from kind of taking clients here and there? You still had your full-time job. So what did it look like for you to transition, or when did you decide, hey, I'm going to give this a go full time? Because that's also a huge decision, especially I think when you work at such a big reputable company too. It makes it even harder to leave.
yeah, absolutely. So when I was doing it on the side, I really just had probably one client at a time. I was seeing them outside of work hours or on the weekends. So
Mm-hmm.
that was kind of the low level side business way.
Mm-hmm.
And then it really came to a point where I was no longer getting what I wanted to at Google. I think it was time for me to move on. And I realized that one of the greatest things about running your own business is that you get to choose who you work with.
Yes.
So the people that I was working with on the side were so committed and excited and engaged and grateful for my help. And so that really gave me a lot of confidence and excitement to think about making the leap. And as you say, absolutely, when you tell people that you're thinking about leaving Google, they kind of look at you like you've lost your mind. So, being really confident in my decision as to, it's time for me to move on. And I know exactly why. Here are the things that I'm missing. And here are the things about running my business that are really fulfilling my values at the moment and really, getting me jazzed. And one thing that I read recently in Originals is we often think about entrepreneurship as this like risky thing. There are stories of people, spending all their money and just throwing,
Yeah.
their success
To the wind and yeah.
exactly. And what they actually said is that the most successful entrepreneurs are actually the most risk averse. And so it's interesting to think back on my transition because people often say, like, did it feel scary? Was it a big risk? Honestly, it didn't feel like it at the time because I had tested it out in so many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
I had tried doing career development stuff at Google, so kind of like internally. I had tested out the side business. So I did all of these tests so that when it came time to really test out full time, it didn't feel like such a giant risk. So I love thinking about, entrepreneurs do get to be risk averse
Yeah.
and we do get to be careful with our transition and be really intentional about it.
Yeah. That's fantastic. And I completely agree because it doesn't have to be that, you're going into debt or taking this loan because you have this big idea and then you like want to implement. My story and how I started even Brief Transitions, the underwear, it was like very like accidental, and it was like one step after another. I'm like, oh, I ran out of these after having a baby and I need more. Why can't I have them? And then, well, I'm going to see if I can get them for other people. And then, and like one step at a time. And I think it makes a big difference. And something I think about sometimes, I feel like there's a lot of like glamour around if you're like really struggling to like do this stuff. And it's like, yes, there's hard times for sure. And I had some very low moments, no doubt. But like, it doesn't have to be like this, I don't know, this like wrecking ball kind of feeling,
Agree.
And I'm sure your analytical background, and we're both engineers, your analytical background like helped with that too, because you were really going at it from like looking at a process and testing different theories and figuring out what worked for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I love that. Okay. So then so how long did you do the coaching like on the side before you decided, okay, now it's time for me to move on, do it as my own business?
It was about a year.
Okay.
Maybe a little over a year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that was that after you finished the program, or that's including when you were doing the program?
I think that was probably including when I was doing the program. There were probably a couple months overlap between when I started and me finishing the program.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Okay. So what would you say is like one of the bigger things that maybe surprised you from actually when you made that switch from working, at Google to then having your own business? Was there anything that came up like, oh, that's not what I expected, or, anything like that?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that I was worried about, because I didn't know if I really wanted to run a business full time for the long term. I wanted to test it out, but I didn't know how I would like it.
Mm-hmm.
Biggest challenge that I saw for me was the loneliness factor. So, as I'm sure it can be so lonely running a business, sitting alone in your house, wondering if you're the only person in the world
Yes.
doing this thing. And so because I knew that was a worry, it's something that I've been consciously thinking of for the past several years. And so what I did pretty quickly after I went full time is like, okay, I know that I am potentially worried about this being lonely. How do I connect with other business owners? And
Mm-hmm.
so I have built such a wonderful community of women running their own business. And so it was a nice surprise to me to see that, yes, running a business can be lonely, and you can actually be really intentional about connecting with other women and creating your own community so that you don't feel like you're just sitting alone in your home running your business. So that was something that was really nice and surprising.
1000%. Oh, this is fantastic. Yeah. That's what I'm even doing now with the Transitions Collective, because it can be super lonely, and it's like such a different world to be running a business than to be, an employee and kind of like climbing the ranks of corporate America, that you really need the help and support any way that you can get it,
Yes.
which I even when I didn't know at the very beginning, I was unconsciously, I guess, like looking for people and kind of forming a local group in town and doing some things like that. Cause I'm just like, I want this for me, because I need other support. So it makes a huge, huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Okay. So for for someone that comes to you for coaching, I want to talk a little bit about like tactics of like when someone might need a career coach, like what they would come to you for. The people that usually come to you, are they in a corporate role right now?
Mostly people are in a corporate role.
Mm-hmm.
Some people
Mm-hmm.
are unemployed, but most in a corporate role.
Mm-hmm. And is it usually that they're either unhappy with what they're doing or not fulfilled?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the way I kind of think about it is people who come to me, I say, are analytically minded because
Yeah.
it's pretty unusual to have a career coach with an engineering degree.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Agree.
I find that my kind of practical and structured nature relates really well to people who kind of are analytically minded.
Yes.
And the way I kind of think about it is that they are either uninspired or just totally crushed by their job. And generally, it's that they have fallen into this career, as we all do,
Mm-hmm.
do whatever degree we do, and we kind of
Mm-hmm.
fall into our first job. And sometimes you just kind of, people describe it as following the river or sleepwalking. And they get to a point where, one, they are kind of potentially waffling and doing this energy draining questioning of, should I stay? Should I go? Is this feel good to me? Do I need to make a change? And then they also kind of reach a point where they actually want to start being intentional with their choices. So, yes, I've fallen into everything so far. What does it
Mm-hmm.
look like to actually make an intentional choice going forward?
Yes. That's awesome. Yeah, because it makes a big difference. I'm reading a book now about it's it's more around being intentional with your personal growth.
Mhm.
So a similar kind of thing. Like otherwise you just kind of let life, yeah, pass you
And
by.
I think it's a normal transition, right? Everyone, a lot of people feel bad and they're like, oh, I fell into this thing after college and I have stayed here for too long. But I think that's what we all do. So
Mhm.
I try to help people not beat themselves up about that. But
Mhm.
like when they get to that point when they want to be intentional, it's like, welcome, you made it. We're in the next phase. Like now we get to make some choices. So
Yeah.
that is a pretty standard part of the process of just like, yeah, you kind of roll along for a little while and then you
Yeah.
decide about making that choice.
Yeah, because anytime you decide to make a change, it's better than not doing something about it.
Yeah,
So, like a better late than never kind of thing,
yeah,
you know?
exactly. Exactly.
So then what do you usually advise people? Do you have them do like s- do you have them do, I mean, I'm sure you have a whole system for how you do it and a series of things, but generally if someone's thinking about like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do next, or I just know something's not right but I don't know what would you like advise someone that
Mhm.
you hadn't met before? Is there a certain like thought process or activity that they should do or something like that?
Yeah, I generally take them through a series of exercises. And what I'm aiming to do is to help people really understand a lot about themselves so that they can know what is going to be a good fit for you in a job. And so that involves understanding what their values are, understanding their philosophy of work, and how does that fit into life. We do a lot of work about understanding your current job. So what is your fulfillment in a couple different areas in your job? What is giving you energy and what is draining your energy? Then we think about the working environment. So what do you need out of day-to-day work? What do you need out of a team? What do you need out of a manager? And then also look at strengths. So really giving someone a full picture of, this is all the things that you know about yourself. And so now we can start to look at your current job, make any changes that you need to, and then also apply that to any, next steps, whether that's short, medium, or long term.
Mm-hmm. That's great, because I think that's probably, and you would probably know better than me based on your experience, but that's probably where people don't necessarily go to or think about to do on their own, is like, especially the self-reflection part, right? They're just kind of thinking about all the things that are coming at them, but not necessarily what they really want or need from the inside out.
And even if people are doing that introspection work, I find that it is so overwhelming to do by yourself.
Oh yeah. No, that's
You
all
get all this information,
right.
and then you're like, what do I even
What do I do?
like,
Yeah.
how do I apply it? So that's why I love getting to support people through it, because I get to see, themes that they might not see. I get to ask clarifying questions. I get to, help them know, okay, what are we doing with this? What actions are you taking out of this? Because otherwise it can just be so overwhelming to have all this information and not know what to do with it.
Yes, 1000%. I'm definitely of the mind of coaches change lives.
Yeah.
Especially if you have the right coach and you're matched with the right person for what you're going through or what you're doing. I mean, there's so many different types of coaches, and depending what you need, for sure. Like, yeah, I really don't. You can do work yourself, but you can't do it the same way or as effectively as working with someone that's a professional doing that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'd like to. I have a couple more questions, and I'd like to switch back a little bit again to your transition to having your own business, and a little bit more about what that was like for people that are either already on that path or have transitioned themselves. What are some tools that you kind of learned, say, after you started being an entrepreneur? Instead, it's a very different, again, like we said, landscape than now I feel like all the tools I use are completely different than anything I used in corporate. So do you have a couple that you suggest or recommend to people for running businesses?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest changes I made was getting a scheduling
Oh yeah.
tool.
Yes.
So that was a huge, instead of like, okay, can you do this time? Are you free on this day? Like, I did that for a while, and then I learned that there are tools that can absolutely do that for you. So I personally choose Acuity.
That's what I use too.
But yeah, that was a huge kind of up leveling for me of like, okay, we're not spending our time going back and forth on times, put it in your calendar, let people choose for themselves, let people reschedule. So that was a big one for me. Zoom has been fantastic. That's something I learned about after I left the corporate world.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to work on CRM.
Yeah.
And I don't have that figured out.
Yeah.
And I don't really have a project planner figured out. I use Asana a little bit, but I also kind of love paper and pencil still. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
kind of go back and forth. So I don't feel like I have that sorted out.
Yeah.
I use Asana a little bit, and yeah, so those are a couple.
I'm with you on that, because same kind of thing. Acuity and Zoom I got to earlier, and I use Trello, so I'm team.
Nice.
I feel like there's like Team Trello, Team Asana. I don't know, but my coach that I work with uses Trello, so that's how I got into using Trello. I never tried Asana, but I've heard good things about it. But I feel like those since they show up so often in your work, like it takes a longer time to kind of get situated and decide which one is really the right one. And I feel like even after you get set up, you're still like transitioning or changing things or, updating things in your business. And it's like, oh, okay, well that worked, but now I need to like fix it again.
Right.
And the CRM one, I completely agree. Cause I feel like it's like it's the biggest commitment out of any of them, to like figure out how to get it to work, but it can be very powerful. I've used it, like I've hired other people and they use it, and I've had a really nice time like using it through their system. So they'll send me the contract and it will pay, like you pay and everything like all through the same setup.
Gotcha. Yeah.
One day I say it's like,
Level of business.
yeah,
Figure it out.
yeah, exactly. It's like one step at a time. Okay, awesome. So I have another question that I like to close with everybody. What skill from corporate America has helped you most as an entrepreneur?
Yes.
I love this question.
Kind of two things.
Oh,
One
yeah.
is facilitation. So I had the opportunity to facilitate a lot at Google, and I think that is such a valuable skill. And now I run my own workshops, and so I'm able to really implement that. But really, number one, my skill that I got in corporate America was customer service. And even, separate from running your own business, I think that everybody should have some experience doing customer service.
Yes.
So you don't know what it's like to be the person on the other end of the email, the other end of the phone, and really think about like, how do you empathize with people? How do you deliver tough news? And so almost all of running a business is customer service in a way. And so you're really having to, use those skills in potential client calls and in working with your current clients and whatever other, organizing interaction you're doing. So customer service for me is just, I am so grateful that I have had many years of experience in that area.
Yeah, that's huge. And even as an entrepreneur, I mean, you are your own brand. You're walking around as your brand, as your company, as you, like it's all in one. And like, so people are really looking to you no matter what.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a really good one. Okay, so Lindsay, can you tell everyone where they can find you, please?
Yes. So my website is alifeofoptions.com, and I'm also a little bit on Facebook. And if you're interested, so one of the things that I have put together over the years is kind of an exercise that I did on priorities and how to define your own priorities.
Awesome.
So interesting. Happy to share that with you. So that's at alifeofoptions.com/priorities.
Oh, that's great. I'll put that in the show notes too, so people can like link directly to it. Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, priorities is a big one. We probably could have talked all day about that too. Okay, so this was like a fake ending. I want to ask you a follow-up question on that.
Love it.
That's fine. People will get it. Surprise, Okay, that's a great one. Let's talk just a little bit about priorities and what you suggest or recommend, especially when people are juggling having a business or having corporate and maybe starting a side business, or then they also juggle in their business. But what are your top things around priorities?
Yeah. Number one, read the book Essentialism. The tagline is the disciplined pursuit of less. And it is basically a terrifying book filled with truths about how much we allow everyone and everything to decide where our time and attention goes. So that is an incredibly clarifying book.
Okay.
That's actually what my exercise is based on. Second, I think let the fact that you are balancing the two things allow you to prioritize in both areas. So, in your business, you're only going to have a small amount of time to be working on it on the side. What do you actually want to be doing? I don't want you to spend your time doing stuff that is not interesting to you or is busy work. I really only have, let's say, X number of hours a week what is the highest impact and highest, joy and creativity giving that I can be doing. So help yourself prioritize in the side business, and then also help that, allow you to prioritize in your life as well. What are the things that aren't giving you as much joy, that you want to actually spend more time on the business, or what are the things that you're saying no to, so that you're consciously deprioritizing some things while you know that you have less time. I would also say that it's helpful to know what is it about your business that really aligns with your values and what's important to you about it. So does it give you more freedom? Does it give you more creativity? And if you're really clear about those and have a vision for that, then sometimes it can help you, choose it even in those moments where you're like, I'm tired. I just came home from a full day of work. Do I actually want to do that? So really having a vision for yourself might help choose your side business in those moments of being tired.
Yes, that's a big thing because I think people don't realize, or, we see a lot of entrepreneurs and their success, once they're very successful, right? But a lot of them will say, well, I've been doing this for 10 years or 15 years or something. And it's making the choices day after day to still do the work, even when you're tired, even when you put a full day in at a corporate job, for at least a year and a half, at night when my girls went to bed, that's when I turned on my computer to do all of my own stuff, my own business stuff.
You have to choose it. It's hard.
Yeah. It's super hard. And you can give yourself one day here or there where it's okay, I really need the break, and you do need to take breaks sometimes. But if you tell yourself that every day, then you won't get anywhere.
Right. One thing too that I love is having any customer feedback nearby or visible. So if you are working on something and you have impacted, one person, two people, and they have told you that it made a difference, somehow have that written somewhere that you can go back to and be like, okay, why am I doing this thing? Right. Remember how I felt, when that person told me what impact I had. So that can also be really kind of energy boosting when you're just getting started. It's like, nope, this is why I'm doing this, for the impact, for the people that I'm going to get to interact with and change their life. So
yes,
that nearby if you can.
Yeah, that's a great idea and a great reminder, because that kind of stuff gets you through the the more difficult days.
Hard stuff can be, a
Yeah.
little bit wiped away by one you're awesome. It made such a difference.
Yeah. You have to make it last.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, that one is going to get me through the next 6 months. Awesome. It's true. Yeah. Awesome. Lindsay, thank you so much. This was so informative and helpful, and I'm really glad that we got to spend this time together today.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
It's so fun to chat.
Thanks. Talk to you later.
Yeah.
Bye. Hi, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that interview with Lindsay. I thought she gave so many great tips and pointers about what it might look like to transition from a corporate job to starting your own business, how you kind of go through some of those steps, and also sharing her insight around getting paid for your services and valuing your services when you're working with other people. So I also really loved that she shared information about productivity. So I hope you liked that little fake ending that we did there, because I really wanted to, once she recommended the book, I really wanted to dig in and talk a little bit about priorities and what that means and how you set some of those things. So I hope you enjoyed this episode with Lindsay. If you want to hear more about her, you can go to alifeofoptions.com. And also, of course, if you ever want to reach out to me, I'm at mary@thetransitionscollective.com. Thanks, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.